This is Pat Iyer, and I have with me today Kari Williamson, who is the principal and founder of MKC. She works as an independent legal nurse consultant and focuses on helping primarily the defense side of the litigation team. Kari is going to be speaking at our September 23, 24, 25, 2021 Legal Nurse Consultant Conference. And I've asked her to come on to this video to share with you the highlights of what you'll be getting from her session. Kari, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Pat. I appreciate the time.
And for the person who is signed up for the conference or is thinking about signing up, what are some of the key outcomes that you would expect that that individual would receive from attending your session?
Well, I think probably the main one that we focus on here in my practice is mechanism of injury. That's something that we train our nurses to do and to have a really solid understanding of biomechanics and how those impact points and resultant conditions develop. But you have to look at it through the prism of the defense file and the claim information that has been sent. So there's some nuancing there and some understanding that I think would be very beneficial to your attendees.
And I know that there are often questions about the mechanism of injury. There have been some interesting cases that I've seen at an attorney conference in which a biomechanical engineer was hired to try to figure out who was driving a car when both of the people inside the car were deceased, and based on the pattern of injuries, who was behind the wheel. I'm sure that you get involved in lots of cases looking at how pre-existing conditions impacted the injuries, or are they indeed the source of the symptoms that the person is currently complaining of? It sounds to me like you're going to help our attendees get some understanding of the nuances of those types of questions.
Well, it's very important to understand these mechanisms of injury, whether they be a motor vehicle accident or a slip and fall. There's so many different types of motor vehicle accidents, as we know, as well as slip and falls. And oftentimes each of these accidents have their own signatures. And so one of the things that we try to help the nurses understand and become not an expert at, but to really understand the nuances, is to look at each accident or each information of that mechanism of injury singularly and through the context of what then the injured party is claiming happened. So for instance, if you have a simple rear end motor vehicle accident, even if it's with a larger vehicle, and the injured party who's the driver says, I sustained a right shoulder rotator cuff tear, and they may have evidence of that rotator cuff tear, the mechanics of a rear end collision would not cause a right rotator cuff tear. It's just not possible. So part of it is helping the nurses to really think about, does the condition that the injured party is alleging, does that dovetail with the mechanics of that event? So while the rear end collision would not have caused the right shoulder rotator cuff tear, a slip and fall certainly could. But again, there's some nuancing there. So it's marrying pieces of information in a way that's helpful to the end user. We don't pretend to be biomechanical engineers. That's not our job. As defense nurses, though, we are tasked with looking at all of those pieces of information and helping the end user determine, do they make sense? Do they align? Do they marry, irrespective of that payer source?
And I think what I'm hearing is the importance of detailed analysis, understanding medicine, understanding mechanics of injury, and some of the factors that enable you as a legal nurse consultant to help the claims adjuster and the defense attorney in uncovering some aspects of the claim that they might not see because of lacking that background.
Well, that's exactly right. And so much of what an adjuster or a defense attorney has to do is look at that accident as reported by, in the police report, but then also watching it morph and develop through the medical record. It changes, things get added on, things get pulled away. But what we know as the initial view of that accident is going to be in the police report. And then you have to carry that all the way through the medical record to make sure that it makes sense, because oftentimes it doesn't make sense, and a non-medical person may not always pick up on those nuances, especially when it comes to, say, degenerative processes, or is there enough force to cause a herniated disc? So it's an invaluable piece of information, and it's invaluable in understanding what's going on through the context of that medical record. You have to really understand it so that you can be effective with your comments and your opinions.
I am so looking forward to your session, Kari, and I know that our attendees will get a lot of value from it. You can sign up for the conference at this link, http://lnc.tips/September 2021 virtual. That's http://lnc.tips/September 2021 virtual, and have a chance to meet Kari Williamson. Thanks so much.
Thank you.